Hi guys, welcome back. So today I will be reviewing She Started It by Sian Gilbert. I really enjoyed it. It was a nice easy read. I think it only took me a week at max, and that was reading it on my lunch breaks. So I'll read the blurb and then get into the review as I have been doing recently. So this is the hen do to end all hen do's. Poppy Greer is getting married, and 4 of her old schoolmates are to be her trusted bridesmaids. They may have drifted, but true friendships last a lifetime, don't they? Plus, who would pass on a free first-class ticket to white sands and bottomless cocktails on a private Caribbean island? But the women have underestimated their host and each other. And as their darkest secrets are revealed, the trip of their dreams becomes a hen do from hell. Will anyone make it to the wedding alive? So, yeah, you can kind of guess. It's very similar to one of the ones I reviewed previously. The only thriller I've reviewed to this point, I think. But yeah, it's they're all trapped on an island together and someone is going around potentially murdering people. So it is great. It's great fun. I don't think I'm supposed to say fun for murder, but either way. Anyway. So let's start with the characters and then I'll get a bit more into it. So you have 5 main characters, 5 different women. You have Annabelle, who is a stay-at-home wife. Her and her husband, from the get-go, you can tell that they're not really together anymore, if that makes sense. They're living together, but they don't seem to be on the same wavelength. Then you have Chloe, who is an influencer. She's quite stereotypical in the sense that, yeah, she's very into posting everything. She has an angle on everything. She wants to make it all about like, oh yeah, this is great, I'm great, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, she's very, very stereotypical influencer. Then you have Tanya, who plans parties for the rich and famous. I think they talk about attending some of her events and how great it is and all the rest of it. So yeah, I think that's her. You do get the impression that she's kind of dragged along for a bit of it, and she regrets quite a bit of what happened when they were at school. So yeah, I think out of the 4 I'm listing now, she's possibly one of the ones I was a bit more like, okay, yeah, I kind of like you. Esther is an accountant. You don't really get too much into Esther, or at least I didn't. She goes for a run every morning. They joke about her only having got the job because of her parents, or at least her mum and her position. So you can kind of tell she's very much privileged. She gets what she wants. Anyway, as the book goes on, you find out that the ringleaders when they were at school, and potentially now, were generally Annabelle and Esther. Annabelle because she had to have her own way, and Esther because she had the money. And then you have Poppy, who is the bride, Poppy Greer, and she was bullied by these other 4 when they were at school. And you have flashbacks throughout it in the form of Poppy's diary, where you learn a bit more about their past, about what happened between them while they were at secondary school. And if you were ever bullied at school, or ever had something bad happen from people straight away, they just decided they didn't like you, you'll understand why. Well, not why, but you'll understand her point of view straight away. It was quite upsetting to read some of the parts, but I'll get into that a bit later. She's, yeah, like I said, she's the bride. She's made this amazing life for herself, and yeah, she's the one who's invited them all onto this island. So The book is split into chapters, obviously. It would be a bit hard to read if it wasn't. Well, it might not be, but still. And it's a split perspective again. So like the last one I was reviewing, you swap between different perspectives. So you get Annabelle, Chloe, Tanya and Esther. Their perspectives are in present tense. So you find out what's going on the island, how the trip's going basically. But all of Poppy's chapters are her diary entries from school. So you learn how she met the other girls, some of the incidents that have led to this point, and you get to learn a bit about their backstory. So yeah, I will say it does contain talk of suicide. So if that's something you'd find triggering, then definitely don't read this. It does contain self-harm in some of the flashback chapters. I would advise that you do think about that before reading the book. I do think it's pretty obvious when you get to those chapters. It does start with an author's note that I would recommend you read. Dear reader, thank you so much for choosing to read my debut novel, She Started It. This book is a fun summer thriller, but to ensure you have the best reading experience, I wanted to provide content warnings for bullying, as well as struggles with mental health, including self-harm and suicide. It is so important that openness, honesty, and removal of stigma around mental health are a priority. With this in mind, at the back of the book you will find several resources which include information on how to deal with these issues and where to seek help. And I do think it's important that you read that, which I have just read to you anyway, so you've got no excuse for ignoring it now. And if it does affect you, I would advise talking to someone. Even if it's just a friend, reaching out can help a lot. Yeah, I can't express how important it is to talk about and think about how you feel going through this. And don't, even if you want to read it, don't put your own health at risk. Yeah, it can get a bit dark at points, especially when you're reading the flashback chapters from Poppy's viewpoint. So just be aware. Like I said, I read this at work on my lunch breaks. I was talking to one of the guys I work with about it actually, and giving him regular updates whenever I saw him, because he'd come in when I was just starting it. I told him a bit about it and my theories, and then I think he was just interested to find out if my theories were correct or if I'd been completely off the point. And for the most part, I can quite happily say I was correct. It wasn't one that surprised me. There was a twist that I didn't see coming completely, but I'd kind of sussed out what had happened and who was behind everything. But yeah, so going back to the characters, I can't say I found any of them likable. Like Poppy, yeah, I did understand her character in the past, and she seemed pleasant, a bit socially awkward, but she's a teenager. It's going to happen. She's a teenager who's been bullied her entire secondary school experience. Of course she's going to struggle to make friends when she's got such a lot going on. But the four girls in the present, they are all very self-absorbed, entitled, and I think it's only Tanya who actually says they should use this time to apologise and make amends for what happened. At least Annabelle, and I think it was Chloe, just adamant that they didn't do anything wrong. They were kids themselves. It wasn't their fault. Nothing that happened was their fault. And that surprised me a bit, because you read quite a few books where the bullies do grow up and understand what they did was wrong and want to repent. But in this one, they were all very adamant that they hadn't done anything wrong. They didn't need to. And yeah, it was interesting to see how they'd all pretty much forgotten about her. They'd forgotten what they did to her, but she remembered. And I think that's an important thing to take away. The fact that something that may seem insignificant to you could mean something incredibly important to someone else, and it can impact them in ways you won't even remember, you won't even realize. So I do think that's something that you should take into account, and this book handles that very well. I liked the themes of sisterhood towards the end, because Poppy does have a little sister, so you get to learn a little bit about their relationship and how they were together. Like, her sister and her sister seems to be her only friend, which is really sad, but as one of 4 girls, I can kind of get the relationship there. Like, you band together. If you might fight at home, but if it's an external force that's attacking, you will band together. So I could really relate to that relationship between them. The ties of friendship between the 4 other girls, I don't think they were as strong as the ones I can say I've created. They seem very fickle. When they weren't, they do say that they stuck together through uni and all the rest of it because they went to separate unis, but they don't seem... There are a lot of things that they don't tell each other. They've got a lot of secrets. Some of them are like hurting the others in ways that the other person doesn't know about. They don't seem to be good for each other. They seem to bring out the worst in each other. 3 of them have been on holiday without the other and haven't told her. One of them knows a secret that would destroy the friendship of 2 of them, but by holding on to the secret, she is destroying her own friendship with the other one. So it's a bit like, for me, it's a no-brainer. I would have told someone. And by someone, I mean I would have told the person it would have affected and wouldn't have ruined my friendship with them. But it would have ruined my friendship with the other person. But yeah, I still would have told her. I don't agree with what was going on. And that's a hard no for me. I'm sorry, but no. That sounds really weird, but I promise it'll make a bit more sense if you know me and you read the book. And it's very cutthroat. Like, you can tell that if they need to step on one another to get to the top, they will. And you actually see that in practice in the book. So yeah, I can't say that they're very strong friendships. So I think while they play on the friendship theme, they aren't friends. Not anymore, at least. They might have been at one point, and they might have been really close. It could have just been teenage friendships that fizzled out, but they didn't know how to go from being the big fish in one pond to the little fish, and they just stuck together because that was all they knew. But they don't seem to be as close as they were. But yeah, so the story starts in Annabelle's perspective, and you find out about Poppy having contacted them all through social media, I think it was Instagram, and invites them on this hen do, saying, "Oh, I'm getting married, will you be my bridesmaids? Come to my hen do. It's an all expenses paid trip to a Caribbean island." And when they show up, it's just the 4 of them, and they're joking, saying, "Oh, she doesn't have any other friends, blah blah blah." And it's really sad that they're still talking down about her until they actually get to that first night and find out a bit about her, and then they kind of realise that their entire view of her is completely wrong. By the end of the book, they all believe the other person has done it. So they have pretty much turned on each other, and they are adamant that one of them is a murderer. These 4 friends that claim to be best friends, know everything about each other, get on like a house on fire, turn on each other, and are like, right, one of you is murderer. And I don't know. I mean, none of my friends would commit murder, but I don't think I'd automatically go, oh yeah, one of you's murdered this person. One of you's murdered our friend. And I'm just like, how would you be so easily swayed into believing it? Though I've never been in that situation. I've never been on a private island where the only way on or off is by a boat that this other woman drives from the mainland. So you can't get off this island. I feel like I should point this out. When they arrive, they meet this woman on the dock who drives them across. Drives them across to the island, and she's telling them there's no mobile service, so they've not got internet, they've not got phone service. If they want to call someone, there's an emergency phone, and otherwise there's only one emergency phone, bear in mind, and it's attached to a pole outside. Otherwise, if it's a true emergency, there are flares under the kitchen sink. And that is a scary concept, especially when someone is picking you off one by one. Because you can't get off the island, and if they cut the phone line and hide the flares, you are solely on your own. So I can't entirely judge them for blaming each other and turning on each other, because I've never been in that situation, and it does sound quite scary. But I don't know as I'd ever believe one of my friends capable of it. Not unless I had solid proof. Though what do I know? I'd probably be the first one dead, let's be honest. Either that, or someone would never want to kill me and I'd just be the one left alive with this murderer going like, oh yeah, you wouldn't kill anyone. But yeah, so they all turn on each other. I'm not kidding. It's everyone for themselves by the end of the book. And yeah, it's an interesting theory. Like, it is an interesting thought. You're exploring how people react in those situations, and the fact that they're like, oh yeah, no one else could get on this island. How's it gonna end? Like, if no one else can get here, it's got to be one of us. So it is very much like a trapped in a room kind of situation. Yeah. What's the plot? Literally and figuratively. It's been a long day, guys. I'm sorry. So the tagline is one bride, four hens, a deadly secret. It's not just one secret. There are lots of secrets, and everyone has them, and everyone is an awful person. Like, everyone in this book is just, even Poppy's like, oh yeah, no, let's forgive and forget. Like, I don't want to talk about the past, and brings it up at every moment. It does explore the theme of bullying. It does very much explore how sometimes you can't understand how much words and actions hurt someone. I mean, you're told about it, but you don't always know the effects what you do can have on someone else, especially when it doesn't really, you don't think about it. So the four of them, like I said, I think Tanya was the only one who actually admitted she wants to reconcile and apologize. At least two of them are adamant that they've got nothing to be sorry for. They were kids and all of this. And I'm just thinking, you might have been kids, but you were teenagers. And teenagers know right from wrong. You know how to treat someone else. There's no excuse for the way you were treating this poor girl. Like, when you first met, you're 11, I think it is. Is it 11? I think it's about 11. And yeah, okay, you can probably get away with the excuse you were kids in that first instance. But the fact that you carried on and made this poor girl's entire secondary school experience absolutely awful, I just, yeah, I don't think there's an excuse for that. And then 10 years later, you've completely forgotten about it. And you go straight back to like all these comments. She's inviting you and paying for you to go to a private Caribbean island. And you're still like, oh, she's not got any other friends. This is sad, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, come on, guys. It is very interesting how the author uses the framing of being from different people's perspectives. So you get certain sections from one person's perspective, and it's very, how do I word this? They are only concerned with what's going on with them. So I think Chloe notices something weird with Esther and Tanya, but she's quickly distracted by what's going on in her life. And it is very much a thought process kind of chapter with some of them, where they will think, oh, this is going on. Oh, but I want to focus on this, or oh, this. And you're kind of taken along with what they're thinking. So it is a very leading kind of narrative. You are only seeing or understanding what the narrators are seeing and understanding. And if they're wrong, you're wrong, basically. You don't get the full picture from anyone. And you've got to piece it together yourselves, which I quite enjoyed. That's possibly how there was at least one little twist that I didn't see coming. But yeah, I don't know how much else I can say without spoilers. So I might just say that if you do want to read the book and don't want spoilers, I'd stop it here. But that seems a bit like a cop-out. So I'm just going to end the review here. And if you do read it and want to have a chat about what happened, let me know. I'm more than willing to talk to you about it, because I went and just told the guy at work everything about this book, because I was really pleased with how it turned out. Like, it was a really good read, and you get to learn what happens to those who have been bullied and to those who potentially bully someone else, even if it's not the same narrative that a lot of other books do when they're talking about themes of bullying. So yeah, I would recommend it. I think I rated it 4 stars on Goodreads, and that's nothing against it. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I think it was possibly just, it followed a very predictable pattern from my point of view anyway. I kind of guessed what was going on. But that's nothing against the book. It was a good read. It was just a quick, easy read. I didn't have any issues with it. You might have absolutely hated it, and if you did, I'd like to know your thoughts in the comments. Or if you loved it, I'd like to hear your thoughts. I don't have anyone who's read it yet, or at least I don't know anyone who's read it yet. So it'd be really good if you can talk to me about it, because at the minute I'm just talking to a camera. So yeah, I definitely recommend you go and check it out, and keep an eye on this channel for some more book reviews. See you next time. Bye.